we got a lot of work to do, but we can do it by working together. So we got a spiritual front that we had to tackle, and we just can't stay on our knees all day. We've got to do like Jesus did. He prayed all night, but then what did Jesus do after he prayed all night? He went into the cities. He didn't wait for people to come to his group. He went out to them and went out to the cities. He ministered to the cities. He had a plan. He organized the disciples. They didn't just go out randomly. They had a playbook. And why I said all of that is my next guest, my friend Annie Delgado, is that lady. She has not been doing this just since November. She has been doing this for years and years and years and years. Annie, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Raj, it's great to be with you. It's great to be with you.
Annie, one of the many, you inspire me with so many of the things you do, but before we get into that, tell the folks a little bit about your background and why you're doing the things you're doing, and let them know what you're doing.
Absolutely. Great. Well, as I said, it's great to be here with you this morning. And I can tell you that two fronts. First, everything that I do starts with the foundation of that we are doing God's will and God's work first. So with that being said, politically, I worked for President Trump. We started in the 2015-2016 cycle for that campaign. And he hired me to be the Florida State Director for Grassroots and Coalitions. Every Monday, I will share with you that we would pray. We started the Trump prayer line, and President Trump would be on with us, then candidate Trump. And this continued on, but after we won our 2016 primary, then we went into the general. And as we know, we were very successful there. I continued the movement because the people kept asking me, we want to do more, we want to continue. And the one most important thing because my security guard kept calling me and telling me, Andy, you have a half a dozen of them outside. And then he called the next day, there's 12 more people outside. So I brought them all inside and I said, okay, guys, we won, go home. They're like, no, we want to do more. So when I did ask them, I brought them to my conference room and I gave them all a piece of paper and I said, write down the 3 most important things that you want to continue. And the number one overall was prayer. They wanted to continue to pray. And they wanted to continue to stay engaged and make more phone calls. And that's exactly what we did. So hence Trump Team 2020 Florida was born. And we pray every 7 o'clock in the morning, every day. We've been doing this since 2015. And in addition to that, Trump Team 2020 Florida has continued with the voter registration, many different things that we do. We have several committees, but we move that forward and we go into the different chapters. A lot of people ask me, including yourself, Raj, Annie, how do you do this? How do you go into all these different counties? Well, I can tell you that the one most important thing is with faith. With a lot of faith, I fear nothing and no one. I know my Savior. I know my purpose. And that's the part that people really have to start to get back into the word, get back into what the Lord is trying to tell you to do for this nation. I pray every morning and I ask him, have mercy on us, have mercy on this nation, what we have done. But the only way that we're going to be able to make a difference is if indeed we do come back together, bring as many people as you can. He calls on us to go out there and save souls. I'm in the soul saving business. And I love that because in politics is very, very, very dirty business. And you have to have tough skin to get through some of the things that will be thrown your way. But when you know that you have the faith of the Lord, that's, first of all, I'm nothing without him. Absolutely nothing. So wherever he takes me, I go and I lead.
You know, Annie, as I'm listening to you and folks watching this, I want to speak to the leaders that are watching this telecast right now. You, my friends, have, like Annie, have taken up the mantle. You have decided, and you may have only started doing this in the last few months. You've started a grassroots organization or you volunteered with a group. You're doing something now that you may not have done before. I want to speak to you. Also, you may be like Annie, you've been leading people for years, maybe at a church, maybe at a non-for-profit, maybe a political organization, or might be at a weekly breakfast with your buddies. I don't know, but I'm talking to you as leaders. And the reason I'm talking to you as leaders is what Annie has been able to do, because Annie just described what she and her team have done in her location. What Annie has done, though, she's done two distinct things that we, the people that are watching the show, us, me included, that we don't do very well. And was it that we don't do very well? It's what I mentioned at the top of our call when I talked about all the factions that we have. We don't play well together.
That's not good.
We jump as soon as someone makes a mistake or we think they made a mistake, we jump all over them, raise a big drama. We don't resolve things privately. We go on the airways and we start criticizing each other. It's just crazy what we do, guys. But
no, it's godless and it's evil. It's godless and it's evil. That's what happened. That's what's allowing to come in.
And what Annie has done, and I'm going to ask her how she does this and mechanics of this. She has actually raised up leaders throughout the state. We're in Florida. So she's not just active in Marion County. She's got organizations throughout the state. That's number one. Number two, she makes it a priority to work with other organizations. Her organization has been around for hours. Defend Florida is very new. We work together. She works with many, many organizations. Annie, how do you make that happen? Because people are different. They have conflicts. They got different aspirations, different fears. Drama is always present. How do you keep people working together, Annie, both in your organization and with others?
It's not easy, but you know, it has become easy for me. In the beginning, look, when the grassroots of it for the Trump campaign and building those coalitions gave me that foundation because I continued nurturing those relationships with people. You have to be able to delegate and give the people the opportunity that they really want is to lead. So a good leader creates other good leaders. You give them the opportunities and let them help them to grow. But many times there are personality conflicts that we come across, things like that. I've been, no pun intended, from hell and back with people just, you know, not wanting to work nice together. They don't play good in the sandbox sometimes. But what we have done, well, from Trump Team 2024, let me just say that after 2020, I was at a meeting with my executive director at Mar-a-Lago, and I had a different hat on. I had a different cowboy hat on, and Ivanka came over to me and she said, "Nice hat." I said, "I'm surprised you recognize me because normally when I put my hair up, I'm gonna have people just walk by me, and I'm like, I love this." So it's kind of good that way. But she said, you know, and looking at the business model, and about a half hour after that conversation with Ivanka, I got a phone call from a gentleman, which is now on our executive board, a great man for this nation and a true warrior, which is Colonel Doug McGregor. And Colonel Doug McGregor asked me, he said, "Annie, we need you to take your model, what you did with Trump Team 2020 Florida, take it nationwide and bring these organizations in to work with you." And I said, "Sir, I'm already on it," because by that time I had already filed with the State Department for, I did all the paperwork, paid all the filing fees. But of course, let's remember that they kind of weaponized IRS and everybody else against conservative groups. And with a name like Conservative Watch USA, I had hope still. You see, you have to keep that faith. You have to keep that faith and never fear. I fear nothing and no one. Why should I? I have my purpose. I know my direction. So in 2 weeks, I received the full, all the paperwork back. And what we did is we transitioned Trump Team 2020 Florida and all of its chapters that we had created, all the different coalitions that we had created, into Conservative Watch USA. And Conservative Watch USA now, I'm so very proud to say, in addition to all the chapters and counties, different counties are chapters across the state of Florida, we're working with other states now. And I just had another organization contact me through the help of a very dear friend of mine, Bev Kilmer from Freedom Speaks. She's part of our education committee. And that's where we battle the perversion of our children, and whether it's the pornography that they're showing in these schools, for goodness sake, or CRT. But this organization asked, again, to help them take the model and bring it to their state. This is in Wisconsin and one in Ohio. And that's exactly what we're doing. But everything is consistency. And I will share with you that many, many years ago, I own a real estate brokerage company. I do development work on commercial basis. And that's how I actually work with Donald J. Trump way before he ever ran for president. And during those decades, I can tell you that I had a wonderful business coach, Michael Bosch from Federal Express, if you remember him. And the one thing he said, it's just like you see McDonald's, IBM. When you think of IBM, it's the guy with the white shirt, red tie, and blue pants. When you think of McDonald's, 2 all beef patties, special sauce, special sesame seed, it's consistency. So the model that I have, I run it as a business, and every single chapter does exactly the same thing. That whether you county right next door or the state right next door, makes no difference. It all gets run the same way, and that's consistency that must happen. And when you give people the opportunity to lead with direction, they need direction, and then they have accountability. Every single month, they put a report in. What's going on, what we've done, where we're at, how many voter registrations we get done, on and on. So
Annie just shared a number of gold nuggets for you leaders. And it's important that we listen to what Annie's saying, because what Annie's doing is working. Her chapters are all over the state, and a lot of what they're doing is volunteer based. So if you're a leader, I know that one of your passions is how to get more people involved, because I know that's what you're looking for, because I've spoken with you. I know another consideration is how to raise funds, donations. I know another consideration you have is how to make an impact. So if you look, and the couple of number of gold nuggets Annie said, I want to underscore them. You can just see how she did. She mentioned specific people, Colonel McGregor, I forget the title, but the leader, McGregor, also Bev Kilmer. Annie's always acknowledging and recognizing the people in her world. She's honoring them. That's number one. She mentioned consistency. She's also making her platform or blueprint available for other organizations in other states. What does that sound like, folks? You know what that sounds like? That sounds just like what Jesus did, okay? Jesus had the entire blueprint in his mind, but he shared it freely with his disciples. And then he asked them to share the blueprint with other people. Remember that Jesus did not change the world by having big events. He did not save the world by putting information out in the Roman Tribune or whatever the heck their newspaper was of the day. How did he get the job done? He took 12 people and he discipled them, empowered them, and he dealt with all of the drama that came with working with those people. And it's messy, like Annie just talked about. So these are the things, folks, that we are not doing. We're not doing them well. And it's imperative, it's critical for the sake of our country that we upgrade our level of thinking in those areas. So Annie, I want to go to something that you mentioned, because you said it's tough working. You said you gone to hell and back actually in working with people. And I want to be clear, what Annie's referring to is so much of the drama, and I have experienced this as well, even in our young organization. So much of the energy is dealing with the people issues within our organization. It's not, I spend more time on that than dealing with quote unquote opposition from the other side. And so I keep hammering on this because Jesus said this, by this shall all men know that you're my disciples. How are all men going to know that you're my disciples? That's a question. Is it by having massive events? Is it by going on social media? Is it by going on national TV? Is it about having massive programs? Well, that's not what Jesus said. When Jesus said that by this shall all men know you're my disciples, the answer to that question I just asked is what he said, by your love one for another. And folks, loving one another is a tactical thing. What it means is working together in spite of our differences. So I want to go back to that, Annie, because we talk about that, but we're not. Talk to me a little bit about when people have that breakdown, and your organization is running pretty smooth, but when you've observed breakdowns elsewhere, what are some of the right things that organization leaders are doing? What are some of the things that they're not doing? So kind of make it really practical for us, for the leaders that are watching this, to bring some of these principles into their world.
Well, you've just got to remember that nothing is 100% going to be nice and smooth all the time. You're always going to have bumps. There's always going to be, as I said, first and foremost, personality differences and things like that. But the one thing as conservatives that we must improve our behavior patterns on is to work together to find a medium. We're never always going to agree on everything. But if you look at the Democrats, they're in sync. You never see them go outside the line there. Republicans are literally a disaster when it comes to things like that. So and part of the kit that they receive from me when they want to start a chapter, whatever, are our company policies, our policies first and foremost, which starts off with our FBI committee. Our FBI committee is our faith-based initiative committee. And so we commit ourselves to do the will of God and his work. And so when things spring up, I literally get people on conference calls or Zoom or whatever it is, and we hash it out because we may not be all in the same county at that time. But I don't see that happening much anymore. In the beginning, people like to be competitive, and I love a competitive spirit, but I like it to be fair. Competition is good, but you have to be fair to everyone. So when we have an even playing field that everybody, okay, these are the rules that everybody abides by, then that curtails some of the, spring ups that can happen of conflicts. And I like dealing with one-to-one with people to be able to, first and foremost, give them the opportunity to convey what they're feeling, because we have to be respectful of everyone's feeling. And if you're feeling left out, or if you're feeling like, you can do it better, I like that kind of a spirit too. So I hear, and you have to hear what they're saying to you, and then make good decisions and show them. Put it back on their lap and say, you're going to make the decision what the outcome of this is going to be. The final decision is going to be that if it's going to be good, because we're doing good work. And if you can't bring yourself to that conclusion, perhaps this is not the place for you. So sometimes.
So clear. Yeah, keep going, Annie.
So sometimes, I have come across where we had to let people go and they went on their way, but they're few and far between, because there's so many more that we're bringing together. We're bringing together, yes, indeed, with the word of the Lord first and foremost, and with hard work. And when you consider the fact that none of us, not even none of us get a salary. We are all doing this for the blood, sweat, and tear for our nation, for our country, and for our leadership, and for our state, and for our God first and foremost.
So there you have it, folks. Not just some theoretical principles, but how it's actually being played out and working in an organization. Annie, before we go, we got just about another 2 minutes or a minute and a half. Please tell us the types of events you're having. You've got some events coming up now. You've got them happening all the time. Please let people know what the events are and how to get in touch with the organization, because look, Annie's organization works with donations. You're going to see her website, conservativewatchusa.com.org, or I'll let her say it, but you're going to see the .com, conservativewatchusa.com. Please go to the website. Please make a donation. Please support the work Annie's doing. Annie, tell the folks about the types of events that you guys are handling.
Well, we have events every single month. So I personally, overseeing all the different chapters, we do, anywhere from 9, 10, 12, 18 events per month, every month. And we just had exciting Dr. Stephen Hatfield. You're going to hear more about this man. He is the virologist that was a senior advisor to President Trump for the Trump administration. It's important to get the message out for these folks, and I give them a platform to be able to do that. And yes, it does take funds, because we have to pay for the venues. We have to, pay sometimes the speaker fees, sometimes their airfare or their lodging, whatever it may be. There's always costs when you're running a business, literally. And that's the way I look at it. It's like a business. So it's important to know, when you go to the website, which is conservativewatchusa.com, you'll see our initiatives, you'll see our committees, you'll see a way to get involved. You'll have the opportunity to start a chapter in your community, in your county, if you don't already have one, or we can guide you to one close to you. And there is a donation button there. We would greatly appreciate any help that we can get, because every little bit does help. And you can always reach me at our email is on our website. Our phone number is on our website. So you'll have all the information right there, conservativewatchusa.com.
So, folks, you've heard from Annie Delgado. Here is a leader at the wheel consistently, combining prayer and good works. Thank you so much for watching this.